My husband begged me not to tell our friends and family about the delusions he's been having so that he doesn't seem crazy, but he's been lying about me, saying I spread my legs, so now I'm spreading the truth. Posted by you/upstairs writing 5155. Okay, so my husband has been dealing with some major issues. We have not yet figured out what they are, but he has been dealing with certain delusions. For example, it all started 6 months ago when he was convinced he had caught me cheating because he found a document saying so on my laptop. When I arrived home and he tried looking for it to show me, he obviously couldn't find it. He is going to therapy, but as of right now, we are technically separated and living in different rooms. It's just that this keeps happening. A certain insecurity eats away at my husband, and he becomes convinced that it's the truth. He either dreams proof, or he just convinces himself that anything is proof. I don't know what he does with the therapist, but I honestly don't see it getting better. Last week, he was mad at our daughter, 15F, because she didn't want him to drive her to prom and take pictures with her. When I asked her about it, she said that wasn't true. She had talked to her dad about what she would like to do when she graduates in 2 years. Her father just got really mad at the perceived slight. The problem is that he keeps talking to people about the issues. I was already wondering why so many mutual friends stopped responding to me, but apparently, they all think I am an awful human being and a terrible spouse. I just want to tell people what is going on, so they are aware that my husband is basically lying to them and to find out about any delusions he might be having that I don't know about. But at the very beginning of his therapy, he begged me not to tell anyone because he was afraid people would think he is crazy. My sister said it would also be an awful thing to do and would basically feed into his delusions. I just feel like I am done. Would I be wrong if I were to tell everyone about his delusions? Edit. Obviously, I am not in the medical field, but I can't describe them as anything else, mainly because we have not done any of the things he has convinced himself of. For example, he was convinced our oldest daughter, 19F, was pregnant because she said no to sushi. She just wasn't in the mood for raw fish. But my husband became obsessed with the idea that our daughter was pregnant. He would go on full rants, saying, "How dare she? We gave her everything," etc. We already did a brain scan/MRI, and nothing was found. Also, no, we are not in the US. First update 5 months later. I thank everyone for their supportive words, especially those who have been through something similar. Thank you so much for sharing with me, it makes me feel less alone. Also, just because I've seen that many people haven't been able to read my first post, I want to clarify that I have tried everything, from getting him to see a real psychologist to attempting to have him committed. I've tried with his doctor, my mother-in-law, and my lawyer. But he hasn't broken the law or actually assaulted me, just threatened to unalive me and our daughter for being wh-res. But to the police, that doesn't matter because we don't matter. So please, all the suggestions about getting him committed or that he might have a tumor, dementia, or schizophrenia, please stop. I have no fight left in me. I also have no legal ground over him. I can't care anymore, or I will drive myself insane. He still has a support network, so he will never be alone. But that man is dangerous to me and my daughters, and the duty of a parent is above all else. So again, please stop suggesting what he could have or what I should do regarding him, because that job is no longer mine. After I posted, things started to unravel quickly. About 5 months ago, when my husband's behavior first started escalating, I quietly consulted with a lawyer. At that time, his delusions had begun to affect our daily lives, and I knew I needed legal advice. The divorce process requires a period of legal separation before the divorce can be finalized. We initiated this process, and I requested full custody of our 15-year-old daughter, given her increasing fear of her father. The court was also concerned and ordered a psychological evaluation for my husband to assess his mental fitness for parenting. A few weeks into the legal separation, my husband's paranoia worsened. He started placing Apple AirTags in my car and in our 15-year-old daughter's backpack, tracking our every move. My daughter was the one who found the AirTag in her bag and was terrified. When I confronted him, he insisted it was for our safety, but it was clear to me that his paranoia was spiraling out of control. This incident deeply affected our daughter, who then began refusing to see her father. Around this time, my mother-in-law reached out to me. She was concerned because my husband had accused her of cheating on his father, something completely out of character for him. My father-in-law didn't believe it for a second but was deeply worried about his state of mind. Her reaching out was a small but much-needed relief. She acknowledged that his behavior was erratic and offered her support, knowing that something was seriously wrong. My older daughter had also become involved in the situation. She had been quietly documenting her father's behavior for months. She recorded 3 different occasions where my husband went on delusional rants. The first was about how I'm supposedly cheating on him with one of my co-workers, a man I barely interact with. The second was about how our 15-year-old daughter was secretly dating someone older and lying to him about it. The third was about how the entire family was conspiring against him to make him look crazy. Watching these videos was heartbreaking, but they validated everything I'd been dealing with privately. Things escalated further when my husband almost attacked one of my colleagues. He had convinced himself that this man was the affair partner I was supposedly seeing behind his back. It took all my strength to physically separate them before the situation turned bloody. As the legal process continued, my lawyer informed me that due to the severity of the situation and the psychological evaluation ordered by the court, my request for full custody was being strongly considered. In Spain, courts typically prioritize the well-being of the child, and given my husband's mental state and the danger he posed, it seemed likely that I would be granted full custody of our 15-year-old daughter. She had made it clear that she didn't want to see her father, and the court was taking her wishes into account. In the midst of this, my 19-year-old daughter decided to take matters into her own hands. She posted the 3 videos she had recorded of her father's breakdowns on Instagram, along with a compilation of texts, photos, and other evidence she had collected over the past few months. Her intention was to show the world what we had been enduring, but it quickly turned into a public spectacle. The backlash was intense. Some people were horrified and reached out with sympathy and support, while others criticized us for airing dirty laundry and accused my daughter of betraying her father. As the divorce process continued, my husband's mental health became a significant factor. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court revealed the depth of his delusions, particularly around cheating and female sexuality. It became clear that he was not fit to make decisions regarding our daughter's well-being. The evaluation supported my claim for full custody, and the court is now in the process of finalizing that decision. In the meantime, all communication between my husband and me is being handled through our lawyers, and I'm ensuring that any interaction between him and our 15-year-old daughter is supervised. Given the severity of the situation and the damage done to our lives, I'm making plans to move away with my daughter once the legal proceedings are finalized. My reputation in our current community is shattered, thanks to his delusions and the lies he has spread. Starting fresh somewhere new seems like the only way for us to heal and rebuild our lives. I never wanted it to come to this. I still care deeply for my husband, but I can't keep sacrificing our well-being for the sake of his image. The revelation that he's been lying to his therapist, or rather, his unqualified life coach, was a breaking point for me. I realized I couldn't trust him to get better on his own. Thankfully, some friends have started to see through his stories and are reaching out to support us, which gives me hope. But I know it's going to be a long, difficult road ahead. For anyone else in a similar situation, please know that you're not alone. This has been the hardest decision I've ever made, but sometimes you have to do what's best for your own mental health and safety, no matter how much it hurts. Thank you again for all the advice. I'm hopeful that this is the first step toward a better future, even if it's a painful one.
My husband is in love with his student. I have no idea what to do. I've decided to talk to him. I know I've been avoiding this since months, but after reading all the responses, I feel it's time I rip that band-aid out. I'm going over to our house. I'll update on what happens. My husband and I, both 35, met in college. We fell in love and got married 8 years back. I gave birth to our daughter in 2020. My husband is a professor at this med school. He's a doctor himself. My friend Sarah also works in the same college, and she's in the same department as my husband. Few months back, in December, Sarah took me out for lunch and told me that she suspected something's going on between my husband and this med student, 25F. She claimed she'd seen both of them give yearning looks to each other. She said that she's known my husband for so long, and she'd never seen him talk to any other woman like this, that he'd been so aloof around women all these years, but it's just different with this one girl. In that moment, I had laughed at her face. I remember telling her that she's jumping to conclusions based on these supposed yearning looks. That's why I didn't tell you before, she had said. I was confused too. It's not like he goes out of his way to talk to her, but whenever they do talk, it's like watching a slow-burn romance movie. She looks at him like he's Brad Pitt, and he looks at her the way he used to look at you. I remember the exact words because they stung. Internally, I was breaking down. Externally, I just smiled and told her that she's probably overthinking. That night, I casually mentioned this my husband. I was laughing at the absurdity, and I expected him to join in and deny the wild possibility that he's in love with a student, but he didn't. Instead, he looked at me, all teary-eyed, and said, "I'm sorry. I can't get her out of my mind. I've tried, trust me. I should have told you sooner. But I thought I could save our relationship. I really wanted to." I asked him if he cheated on me. He said no. He said he didn't even talk to her, nor did they have any contact outside of college, and that he completely understood how morally depraved it is to try and pursue a relationship with a student. She wrote him a letter about a year back, confessing her love for him, and he had told her that even though he was into her, nothing would come out of it. Apparently that was when the yearning looks had started. I honestly don't remember how I reacted then. I think I just started packing and came to live with my parents along with my daughter. I've been living with my parents since then. Half of me wanted him to come and beg for forgiveness, but he never did. He comes by sometimes to spend time with our daughter, but that's it. He never talks about the elephant in the room, nor do I bring it up. I keep checking that girl's social media. She's insanely beautiful, almost doll-like, and intelligent. I can't help but think that someone like him should be with someone like her. He's always been very good-looking, and I'm more of a plain Jane. She's the Meredith to his Derek. I don't know what to do. What do I even tell people? I don't even know who I am without him. Some part of me still wants him to come back. TLDR husband just admitted that he's in love with this young woman who also his student. She loves him too.
I told my 27F fiance, 27, to stop talking about his sick mother. He just stopped talking to me, and I don't know how to fix this. Was I wrong? Hello, this is something that's been building up for a while now. My fiance, Ryan, and I got engaged back in December, And in total, we've been together for 5 years. The anniversary was in March. So far, he's had no red flags, and I'm positive about that. He's kind, listens to my endless ramblings about obscure topics I know he knows nothing about but still listens because he knows I care about it. He cooks because he's fantastic at it and it's one of his love languages, and he knows when to be silly and serious. Overall, he's truly a man I love, and I don't feel any doubts or worries about us. Or I did. His mother is a long story. When my fiancé was little, 6 or 7, his mother lost a baby to SIDS. It was so traumatizing for her that she left him for 4 months. He was looked after by his aunties. When she came back, she was the quintessential helicopter parent. She made them share a bed till he was 11. It only stopped because he wanted it to. She didn't allow him a lock for his door. When he bought one himself, he got a friend to install it. She actually cried. Whenever he showed the slightest passing interest in something, she'd jump the shark and buy things associated with that interest. When he started listening to Disney music as a preteen, she went and bought him all the sing-along DVDs and merchandise and a little play mix set and a few instruments and posters, etc. When he started to play tennis, she bought expensive shoes that were meant to help decrease the stress on one's heels. He stopped playing when his friends grew bored of it, so he did too. That was a common pattern for years. And he's told me how whenever he told his mom he'd lost interest or never was that interested in the first place, he'd feel so much guilt and shame and anxiety. That he was letting her down. When he finally moved out, only because he started college. If he hadn't, I have no doubts she'd have kept him forever. He had very little life skills. He could cook, and that was about it. He couldn't schedule appointments, didn't know how to drive, he didn't even know how to properly wash his own clothes. His mother had kept doing them for him all through his college years. Even now, she still babies him so much. When we visit, she only speaks to him, and it's in like a slight baby voice, like it's slightly higher pitch. She'll offer to still do his clothes, to cook for him, to give money, etc. I feel bad for Ryan because she doesn't treat him like a grown man. He's tried to get her to change, but he said she's stuck in her ways. And she's stonewalled every attempt I've made at a connection or even an amicable relationship. She only speaks to me when it's solely about Ryan. Then her eyes light up and she pulls out pictures and mementos and talks about him for hours. But I've noticed she speaks very little of his life after we met. About the job he started, the apartment we moved into together, all that stuff, like it never happened. I've tried to get Ryan to just see how unhealthy their relationship is, but he just tells me that she has no one. She's only ever had 2 serious relationships in Ryan's whole life, that he's her only child. And that she just worries about him. He's got minimal boundaries established. If he ever offered her to move in, I would honestly debate ending our relationship. In January, she had a nasty fall that broke her hip. Then she got pneumonia, and that almost wiped her out. Since then, she acts like she's made of glass, not even leaving bed when, according to the doctor, she should be doing some form of physical therapy. She doesn't even make her own food anymore, and has Ryan do everything for her. He cooks, he cleans, he stays to talk for hours. When he comes home from work, he's here for at most an hour before he's off to her place. Sometimes he even sleeps there. I feel like he's just forgotten about me completely. He doesn't even text much anymore. I'll be left unread for hours. Then I'll get a brief response. He's not cheating, his location is always on, and it's only ever at the shops because he's there buying his mother things. In the brief time he's home, either during that hour or when he sleeps here, all he does is talk about his mother. Either her medication, how weak she is, how lonely, how sad she is. He's made her the only topic of discussion. It's frustrating when I want to speak about literally anything else, because it always goes back to her. Me? Oh, work was a pain today. The quota was 200 bottles, I barely got it done. Ryan, I don't know if Mom will ever be able to work again. She might have to go on disability. I feel unimportant and discarded, but I know he's not doing this to hurt me, but he doesn't seem to listen when I try to tell him his mom's relationship with him isn't healthy. Well, recently I had my breaking point. I had a slight spill at work and hurt my hand and wrist area. It's just painful, but it'll be fine in a week. Because of my current one-handedness, I asked Ryan if he could prep my work lunches for me. He's done so in the past without my asking. Just to be nice. When I asked him, he sent this, "You know I won't have the time to come over. Mom needs me to do her foods shopping, then pick up some clothes. She can barely walk. Can you please just make your food? I know it'll be tough, but please just get that I gotta be there for my mom. She's in a much worse state than you." This kind of broke me a bit. His lack of care for my injury, the sort of dismissive way he spoke to me. The hyper-focusing on his mother still. It broke the dam. I told him over text. For if *kick's sake, could you just for once this year be there for me? I asked this one thing, and you can't do it. Your poor mother just refuses to get off her ass and be a grown-up. If you're treating me likely this now, I don't imagine it'll change if we get married. For once, can you just not talk about your sick mother and prioritize your future wife? Because of the rate you're going, I won't be your wife and you'll be alone. I felt it was harsh even as I was typing it, but everything I said felt true to me. Just anger building up for nearly 3 whole months of us barely even talking. I can see that he's seen it. It shows read. He hasn't responded, and it's been nearly 2 days. I had my sister come over and she's doing my food. She's also how I'm getting into work given I can't drive. I haven't told her much because I just feel embarrassed at being discarded by someone I love. I think I messed up bad. I think I was too harsh. I really don't know how to proceed. If Ryan will respond. He might even call off the engagement. I'm just feeling terrified I let my anger get the best of me and I ruined the best relationship I ever had. How do I get past this? Do I talk to Ryan or wait for him to speak? I haven't been in anything like this before. I'm scared if I reach out, he'll snap back and block me or something. Please help me. Edit. I see recurring questions. Very much my fault. I felt the post was bloated, so I skim a few details. My bad, I will admit, sorry. I have many times offered to help, either to take over his duties for a day or just offering him a night away for some personal time. I once considered asking his friends, but that felt too invasive, so I scrapped the idea. NIL is late 50s, 58 to 59. She was perfectly healthy before this. She's fine weight-wise, decent blood pressure, etc. That's a contributing factor with my skepticism in relation to her health, that she's exaggerating it. And I do fully admit I was mean with my text. I felt bad back then and just feel worse now. But I can't take it back. I just want to know how to proceed, that's all. Even if we split, I'd still want to give a heartfelt apology. I still care for him at the end of the day. He's given me some of the best years.
How to tell my F29 sister, F35, that my husband, I'm 31, and I don't have the capacity to host her for a month. Throwaway and fake names. My sister Emma chose years ago to live thousands of miles from the family we have in this country, myself, my husband, my father, and our other sister Grace. Emma occasionally comes to visit, but it's usually on the way to see friends or do some other thing she cares more about: egg, climbing, hiking, holidaying, etc. Otherwise, we go to her when we can. For some current context, things have been tough for my husband and I lately. The family I'm married into, but I'm very close to, has suffered a lot recently, including terminal illness and death. It's been rough. I have been open with my nuclear family about what we've been through. On top of this, DH works very long, physically taxing hours. In his time off, he is with his terminally ill parent, caring for them and spending time together. I also work around 50 hours a week. I do spend a lot of time with DH at his parents', I admit. But I love them dearly. They're the best family-in-law you could ask for. Now, Emma wants to come and stay with us for a month. We do have a positive relationship, but I've been required to look after her a lot of our adult life, and she's not always made the responsible choice. Our door is always open to family, but this is not exactly a good time for us. We are still grieving, and almost pre-grieving for my in-law, I suppose. The two main issues if Emma comes to stay. We would essentially be required to support her financially while she is here. Don't get me wrong, we've helped her out in the past, she's family after all. A month is an awfully long time though. Emma is what's known as high maintenance. If she isn't entertained and made a fuss of the entire time, she will get emotional and will drop not so subtle hints that we don't love her enough. Our sister Grace, 24, still lives with my dad, but she works full-time and is never home. Grace and Dad have both said that Emma is welcome to stay with them. Dad is especially wanting to spend time with Emma as she's rarely here for more than 2 or 3 days at a time, sometimes years apart. Emma has said she's not coming unless she can stay with me. I don't want to be the reason she doesn't come, but my husband and I just don't have the capacity to take her on for an extended period of time right now. I feel awful about considering telling her she can't stay with us, at least not all the time she's here, but I don't really know what to do. Even if I was to tell her, what would I say? Have you all got any advice for me?